Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video or almost daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's talk about what is happening with the stock on another pretty impressive day, of course, for NVIDIA, moving up even higher. And I'll give you my personal thoughts on what I believe will happen next and all that good stuff as per usual. So ladies and gentlemen, as per usual as well, if you enjoy, please don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section is live on YouTube. That link, of course, is down below. If you're interested, for just $2.99 a month, you get access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates every single day on Tesla and just the broader market as a whole. Like for instance, we get these posts like this as well every day for $2.99 a month, or for $5, or I guess $4.99 a month, you get access to all of that plus NVIDIA daily updates as well, which is that NVIDIA tier. But nonetheless, definitely check it out if you're interested, link below. But jumping into it, NVIDIA closing the day up just shy of 2%, closing at just above 119 per share, which compared to the market, roughly in line with the market, we'll say. So let's talk about what this means. Is NVIDIA topping here? Does it move higher? What can we expect moving forward? So let's talk about it. NVIDIA, right? We talked yesterday how NVIDIA closed above the 21 EMA, and I could probably see a move higher to about 120, the top of the range about 120, which is a massive area of supply. Like we are pretty much trading right within that area of supply right now, which arguably should be a resistance. And you know, it hasn't been as much of a resistance as I expected. I'll be honest. We actually came up to 120 and we're actually closing, 119 and 14. Not bad of a close, right? It's a bit of a stronger close than I thought. I thought this area would reject NVIDIA a little bit more aggressively. It didn't. NVIDIA is holding up quite well. A lot of calls coming in on NVIDIA throughout the day. Some puts definitely came in, 1.5 million put here, but 1.1 million call, 2 million call, right? A lot of calls come in on NVIDIA. It's actually kind of funny sometimes to watch all these calls roll in. But can we go even higher, right? That's the main question. I think there's a very real possibility, right? You can see this volume profile right here as we pretty much zoomed in over here, right? You can see the volume profile. We pretty much entered a very, very large area of volume over here, right? Pretty much right at this 120 little range right here, right? And that's what's smacking us back down. So the way I look at it is this, right? Let's talk about support resistances. Let's say NVIDIA does move higher. What are the main areas to watch for? If NVIDIA can start closing daily candles above 120, right? If we start closing daily candles above 120, I think NVIDIA most likely heads higher to 123. I'm sure you guys remember 123, right? That was a pretty important level that we were going sideways in for quite some time until earnings, of course, decided that we're going down, right? I'm sure you all remember that. Well, we're already back there pretty quickly. It's kind of impressive how fast the stock can run sometimes, but we're already back there pretty much, right? That would be the next level, really. Plain and simple, that would be the next level to watch for NVIDIA, right? That was an old support before, it turned into resistance, and we went lower. So naturally, that's a new support or resistance, and most likely it will act as a resistance. So that's the first level. Second level is going to be this descending little trend line that we're in, right? That started at all-time highs, rejected us here. Let me go ahead and bring that thing. All-time highs, rejected us here, went lower. Obviously, technical rejection, I guess, went lower. Rejection all the way here, earnings, bam, went lower, right? So, best case scenario for now, I see NVIDIA coming up to about 126-ish, we'll say, 126, 127, depending on when it happens, somewhere around there. And we'll see from there. I would, if it happens quickly, I definitely expect a rejection because the stock would just run up way too fast, way too quickly. I definitely would expect a rejection from there. Right? That'll be my first inclination. It really just depends on how fast it actually happens. But that's the main thing I'll be looking for NVIDIA as like a realistic best case scenario in the fairly short term, right? That range right there, 126, 127, which is a retest of that trend line. If we break above it, we'll talk about it. But if we do break above it, ultimately, TLDR, I expect us to probably head closer to all-time highs. But that's still a big if. There's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of overhead supply pretty much right where we are. So we'll see how that plays out, right? Now, let's talk about support, right? Support is pretty important, right? Support is going to be as follows, right? I mean, arguably 117, you can make an argument that is a support, but the main one I'll be looking for personally is pretty much that 21 EMA. And that's exactly also what happened this morning. Remember how I said yesterday, I'd expect a quick little move down to the 21 EMA, turn that back into support, hold it, and then probably move higher to closer to 120. Literally what we said yesterday, that's exactly what happened, right? Pretty beautiful stuff. Now, if NVIDIA can come back to the 21 EMA and continue holding it tomorrow, maybe the next, Monday, Tuesday, right? I want to see it. I do want to see it go back there, and I do want to see it keep holding that 21 EMA, right? Obviously, this thing will slowly move up to us, but I do want to see it hold around 116, 115, somewhere around there. I want to see continued support of the 21 EMA to kind of solidify it as a stronger support, kind of base right above it. before maybe heading higher to 126, let's say. That's an example that you can definitely look for, right? But that's kind of what I would expect from NVIDIA as of right now. But regardless, support's below 117, pretty much 115 to 116, which is 21 EMA. But if we lose it and we start closing daily candles below that 21 EMA, which NVIDIA respects pretty handsomely, I would say, I think we're coming back down pretty quickly to the 110 through that low volume profile. Keep in mind, again, make it very clear, every single time we've been snapshotting between 110 roughly to like this 118, 120 roughly, they've been pretty quick moves, right? It comes up and down through this range pretty quickly because there's very low volume in this general vicinity, right? Especially below 115, very, very low volume. So if we start losing the 21 EMA, expect a pretty quick move back down to close to 110, 108, something like that. It'll be quick. It'll most likely be just as quick as it was up, right? So that's just something to consider. Now, looking at the daily with the indicators, right? The MACD is still bearish, obviously, but it's curling up and it's looking pretty close to flipping bullish, which is a nice sign. Obviously, the MACD is a bit of a lagging indicator. Stochastic is similar to the MACD, as is the BX trender. They're just quicker. They're less laggy. But when the MACD does flip bullish on NVIDIA, it usually does respect it quite well. So when it actually does finally happen, that is something still worth noting, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But regardless, RSI still looks great. Stochastic still, oops, that is not what I wanted. Stochastic still looks, perfectly fine. That's not stochastic, that's RSI. Stochastic still looks pretty good, right? Pointing straight up, no longer oversold, still has a bullish crossover. The momentum is still pretty damn decent. This is, this is a stock that shorting at 120 wouldn't be the worst thing in the world with a tight stop loss, like pretty much above the high of the day. Pretty decent opportunity, in my opinion, but the momentum, it still looks bullish, right? The BX trender still pointing straight up with the green, making a fresh higher high. The momentum looks bullish. The NVIDIA looks bullish. This is not a stock that I would personally short. I mean, 120 is not a bad area to try it with, again, like a stop loss above pretty much the high of today. Not a horrible place to try, but, it's almost like catching a falling knife just in a bearish way, right? You know what I mean? So we'll see how it plays out. But if NVIDIA starts losing the 21 EMA and it starts closing a daily candle below the 21 EMA, that's where I think some signs of concern can definitely start coming in, and that's where maybe we're correcting. Now, the few things I want to bring out are going to be QQQ, right? QQQ is definitely approaching a pretty interesting situation here, right? It's getting close to a potential massive area of supply, getting close to the top of this trend line, and if there's a place for a QQQ in the market to reject, it's not that much higher from here, right? It's not that much higher from here. So there is still a real possibility that QQQ does reject like this and make its way lower. And then maybe it breaks out, who knows? But, if there is a place for the market to reject, just as, there's a place for NVIDIA to reject pretty much right around this 120, we're pretty close to that, pretty close to it, if not already there in some cases. So again, take it for what it's worth, take it as you will, right? Again, the market still looks pretty good to me, right? The market still looks bullish. It still has strength, but it has run up pretty quickly, in a very short time span, and it's approaching some major supply and resistance. So let's see how it plays out. But again, if there's a place to reject, we're pretty much at it. And the final thing I want to mention is going to be, of course, seasonality. Let's not forget, we are entering a very, very, very spicy election, which, I talked about this in the Tesla video, but when it comes to seasonality, we're the dark blue line, right? A presidential election year. Obviously, that's exactly what we're in right now. Election, of course, in early November. It's a spicy one with Kamala and Trump. Very spicy one. And I expect the spiciness to probably get spicier. Let's just say that, right? But again, looking strictly at seasonality, you can see usually September is the bearish month, right? Usually September, the second half especially, is very bearish. And it still is very bearish this time around too. But then it kind of eases up, right? In October, it's kind of like, not that bad. It kind of goes up, then it kind of just goes back to the same lows. But you can see the dark blue line, which is where we're in. The second half of September, we just go straight down. And we go straight down into October. We go straight down even further. And then we get a little bit of a, massive, squeeze, if you will, or like a short covering, get a massive, massive rally. And then we go even lower or about equal lows into pretty much as we enter November. And then we bottom out and then we rally, essentially for that Santa Claus rally, right? As the elections are over, all that uncertainty and whatever is out of the way. But the point I'm trying to make here is we are entering seasonally very, very, very bearish times here in the second half of October, pretty much until the end of second half of September into the end of October. Maybe this time's different. Maybe this time will be bullish. Honestly, I still expect us potentially to go a little bit higher. I don't think we're fully topped out just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if the market does pump a little bit more, maybe tomorrow or early next week. But second half of September, just again, strictly off of statistics, strictly off of seasonality. It's a lot of years from 1976 to 2023. It's a lot of data. Betting against this data, hey, you do you. that's just all I'm going to say. Take this information and do with it what you will. But yeah, that's pretty much the main thing I'll be looking at for NVIDIA right now. Ladies and gentlemen, NVIDIA looks pretty solid. I think it looks still pretty bullish. But if there's a place to finally start topping out, if there's a place to finally start putting in some potential bearish top signals, 120 is the range, followed by 123, followed by 126 to 127. Those are the three main levels on the upside for NVIDIA to potentially start looking to top outs, right? So again, we'll take it level by level on day by day. Very important that it continues holding the 21 EMA. Below the 21 EMA, expect us to most likely begin our move back downwards. And honestly, if we lose it again, it really wouldn't shock me if we ultimately do come back down to this green trend line, which can line up pretty well with seasonality. If we do come back down to this green trend line, which will actually be somewhere around the $100 per share now, depending on when it happens, wouldn't shock me whatsoever if that kind of coincides with how this seasonal chart looks like. But again, we'll see, and we'll take it day by day, level by level, week by week. But all in all, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you for the next one. Peace.